Welcome everybody to DAT Poker Podcast, episode 97. Actually, I guess it's Rat Poker Podcast this week. Ross stepping in for Daniel. Yeah, one of those. I am your host, Dave Schwartz, alongside producer extraordinaire and co-host this week, Roscoe P. Coltrane.
What's up, white boy? I eat grass.
Love that. Segura. Was that Segura?
It was Segura on Jay. It was the sports podcast. You actually showed me it.
Great episode. And Terrence Chan, T, how are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Technical difficulties aside, for which I apologize. Not the most visually attractive or audibly attractive, if that's a term. Just trying to get things in. We're down to Daniel. I can't get a computer that works. This should be fun. Excellent.
I don't know if it'll be better or worse for people making fun of your appearance in the comments.
That's true. People just kind of make fun
of me. If they can't see you, then
all the time. So I mean, just have at her. We're 45 seconds into the show, but
Canadians are going to love the retro 72 Canada jersey or the T-shirt there for sure. So you're good. The people over on the other side of the ocean will like my shirt. So we're playing to the audience this week. As we mentioned, Daniel, he is playing Phil Hellmuth currently at the moment in the high stakes duel, and it's interesting because they're filming it today in the Poker Go studios, and then they're airing it tomorrow. And I think they have some sort of hype show or something tonight. I'm not 100% sure. We will miss it, being that we're recording. But he is playing Phil Hellmuth in the first leg of the high stakes. So of many legs, maybe, depending on if the loser wants to challenge. We'll get into the format in a second. First, usually we have, this time of year, we would have had Allan Boston to come on and give us his take on the March Madness, the tournament that's currently taking place. I believe they're in the Elite 8 today. And he's come on at, I want to say 10, 12, 14, a long amount of years in a row. And he's given us a first round lock in the first round, sometimes more than one, but he gives us a lock, and I don't think it ever lost in the history of the show. Maybe I'm misremembering, and I'm just
last year when our team got the flu, it was Nevada versus Florida, and Nevada got the flu.
So we lost. So the bet lost.
Yeah, last year it lost.
Okay, so that was the first.
The last tournament 2 years ago.
Sorry, 2 years ago. Yeah. So that would have been the first one that we met, or that didn't win. So he's done. We're never having him back. Even his 13-1, we're not. No, just kidding. It just didn't work out.
Excuse me? What's that? I've never heard of this flu thing you're talking about. Does this flu thing still exist?
It was just a regular old flu back then, but it cost us.
We don't have those anymore. Nobody. What have you ever heard of anybody getting the flu now? Nobody. I think like the Canadian government literally said like we just didn't have a flu season this year.
Oh yeah. Well, it's because
get the flu and
people are taking precautions these days.
So the thing about that loss, though, is that people started getting on board more and more because he won every year, and more money got bet. So I wonder if everybody lost all their profits for the last.
It's like a reverse martingale, right? Everybody was just like, "Oh, this guy's good. I'm gonna bet more. I'm gonna bet more. I'm gonna bet more." Now everybody's stuck.
He's been having. I don't think he's had a great tournament. Kind of hit and miss. Seeing some of his posts, but who knows?
He's a tennis handicapper now.
Tennis guy, yeah. He knows his tennis inside and out. Anyways, we didn't get to it this year. Hopefully we'll return next year with Mr. Boston, because it's always entertaining. And people were asking for it. I got a ton of tweets and texts, and it just didn't work out, and we apologize in advance.
Well, we could do like the 90-second version. I could beat anybody at 7-card stud.
Does he say I think it's more 7-card stud is the best game ever.
The best game, yeah.
There's certainly some of that. But I thought it was always like I can beat every famous poker player except like that of at 7-card stud, except for like this list of like 3 people that might be like Ted Forrest and like and a few people who are dead.
Stu Unger is the greatest of all time. Kids these days are afraid to think outside of the box.
Oh, and it's disgusting how they're ripping these kids off.
Oh yeah. The NCAA is evil. Syracuse should never make it in the tournament.
All right, you guys are being overly critical of Mr. Boston. Come on, he's Mr. Boston, by the way. And
I think he started his own podcast too. I saw on his channel.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, he didn't charge us. He came on every year and was happy to do it for us. Come on, don't rip him.
I'm not. I'm just saying I'm just saying sometimes a 90-minute podcast could have been a 90 seconds of exaggeration. It could have been a slightly condensed a little bit.
He's not a condensed guy.
The selection committee discussion could have happened a few years in a row. Okay, so quickly, we talked about it. We hit it off the top. Daniel versus Phil Hellmuth, the high stakes duel, the first leg of it. The $50,000 buy-in is happening right now. We got some spoilers, but we're not allowed to say. I think they're halfway through the match. Daniel gave us a couple of spoilers, but we're not going to spoil it for you out there. Here's the format for those that don't know and have been living under a rock and haven't heard anything. 50K buy-in. They're playing at Poker Go Studios today. They're broadcasting it tomorrow. I'm not sure. So here's the thing. Why aren't they doing a live stream? I mean, get a 10.
I was confused by that too. It's not, heads up poker is not something you really need to edit, right? Like, sure, I mean, a lot of hands end pre-flop, so it's a little bit more interesting to just do the highlight reels of the big hands, but there's not a lot of people. I think people are okay with some 3-bet fold pre-flops, right?
It's weird. It's like any 10-year-old off the street can tell you how to stream these. Is it? I don't know what the problem is. It doesn't. There can be the half-hour buffer, right? We're all fine with that. We've had that happen, and just live stream it. But anyways, I guess they want to turn it into a production value type of a production. Add a whole bunch of stuff to it, and here and there, and like you said, cut out some of the dead hands, which I guess is a different format. But I would have loved to have seen the full stream. Anyways, going on, the format, 30-minute levels. They're starting, again, 50Ks, stacks 50 and 100. So they start off with 500 big blinds, and they play for a half an hour at 500 big blinds. And then they go to 75, 150, 100, 200, 150, 300. So, but 6 levels in, they're still playing with, 100 big blind starting stacks, 250, 500. So it's pretty deep, even for the first 3 hours. For a heads up match, which I thought is pretty neat. And maybe that's the answer to the question earlier about why are they editing it out, because there is going to be a lot of sort of dead hands, so to speak, and maybe maybe a 5 or 6.
I guess, if we think about it, all this thinking about it further it's like it costs a lot to do production stuff. Like even they're probably going to do as much of a minimal crew as they can, but you still need cameramen, you still need sound people, you need all of the stuff that makes TV happen. So that could be part of it.
Indeed,
it makes perfect sense. But it's good for Daniel. I mean, he gets to manifest the skill edge that he has. I mean, obviously some debate about how much skill edge there is, but whatever he has, it's pretty good for him, the structure, I think.
Indeed. So again, we went out on poker, and people were taking sides and tweeting who they thought was going to win. And Joey Ingram and Greg Raymer were two that said Phil's going to win. They jumped on Phil. I saw those two guys pick Phil. Presumably, maybe they would have had a little money on it. I'm not sure. But the rest of the poker world seems to be on Daniel Negreanu's side, given all the studying he's done with Heads Up Poker and maybe they don't think as much of Phil's game as Phil thinks of his game. So, I saw the majority.
Do you really think Joe Ingram thinks that Phil will win? Like, do you really think he thinks that, or do you think he's just sort of saying it for clicks?
Who knows? I mean, Joey, he likes to. You never know. Maybe he's being that guy who takes a contrarian side and then can say, "Hey, I was right." Who knows? Or maybe
I guess. It's weird. I mean, it's to sort of like, when Daniel has gone through this 25,000 hands, playing one of the best heads up players ever and studying his ass off. Like it's insane to think like that I understand like the sort of Joe public who doesn't see beyond 15 bracelets, blah, 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 and all the marketing that Phil does. I can understand that person picking Phil. I can't understand like somebody who's educated in the poker world like Joey, who knows the value of study, who himself has been like a really studious poker player for a long time, actually thinking, oh yeah, like I think there's a greater than 50% chance that Phil Hellmuth will win.
All right. You're calling out Joey Ingram. I love it.
A little bit. I mean, that's okay. But Joey just, he does. I mean, that's the thing. If Joey ever, it's too late now, but if you ever wanted to bet me even money on it, I mean, or anybody else, he has that. But I like Joey. I mean, Joey does do what he does for clicks sometimes. I think that's clear. But he's turned himself. I think he's rebranded himself from like the supernova grinder guy to Poppy, to the podcast guy and the news guy. I think it's fun, and I think it's good. I think he's good for the game. So I'm giving him a little shit, but I don't believe for a second he fucking thinks that Phil is greater than 50% to win.
Okay, so coming off this format, though, I'm not going to play devil's advocate because I also think Daniel's going to win. But I'm saying Phil, he just beat Antonio 3 consecutive heads-up matches in this format. Like he just beat him three straight.
I think that I'm near full power.
Now, obviously,
I got no counter argument to that.
I know. You sample size is your argument. I get it. All right. The current line was minus 159 for on Daniel. I think it was like plus 130, almost 140 for betting on Phil, which felt about right. I mean, it's one tournament or it's one heads up match. So
I put a decent amount on Daniel for it.
A lot of variance. This is, I think, like an interesting math exercise for like people who like want to study poker math or like to study poker math. You should actually figure out whether minus 159 plus 130, whatever it is with the juice. You should like make some assumptions, like say Daniel has an edge of this many BB per 100. The standard deviation of heads up no limit, the way these guys play it, would be about this many BB per 100. And we can expect the match to last this long. And if you can sort of mathematically model that, I think you've done it. Like that's part of understanding some aspects about poker and gambling that I think are really useful to you. So if you want to go ahead and do that, we've got a Reddit forum, DAT Poker Pod on Reddit or whatever, just tweet at us or whatever. I think it's an interesting thing to do, to think about, is like, you've got one match. Like, what is actually Daniel's probability of winning? Now, we don't really know his true BB per 100. We don't know his standard deviation. We can take guesses at this stuff. But if you're making a bet on this, like, you have to make to make an informed bet, you have to sort of think about how the math should be done in this kind of thing. And it's an interesting exercise for sort of serious gamblers to try to figure out what the correct line should be.
Are you going to get them to run how much they should bet through the Kelly as well?
I mean, that part's easy. You can just type Kelly calculator in Google and
without a calculator. I'm saying do it yourself. You're asking them to do the computation. Maybe they can compute Kelly too.
Yeah, I'm sure they can do. That's there it is. It's in the back of mathematics of poker, among other places too.
All right. Here's what I was thinking. Do you think Phil has 100% of himself? Now, Phil is a known banker on this, right? What? No. I mean, he's got like. I don't know. So Phil's one of these guys who says things, but maybe doesn't really believe them all the time. One of them is, I'm the greatest poker player of all time, and I should be a favorite, et cetera, in this match. And how is Daniel a favorite? But when it comes down to it, when behind the scenes, like, I don't know, we will never know. But I'm just saying, like, do you think Phil has 100% of himself in this? Does he think he's
100% of himself in anything these days that's like 5 figures and up? Like, I doubt it. I think the more interesting question, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'd be very surprised if he had 100% of himself. The more interesting question to me is, like, these people that he gets to buy pieces of him, did he charge them markup? Because I think that would be interesting, because I think that's probably what happens sometimes. Like, Phil knows a lot of people who are not dumb. They're very intelligent people, but they're not poker people. They're just wealthy people who are very intelligent people who got money through other means.
They might own NBA teams. They might be NBA players.
Might be finance guys. Like, yeah. There's man.
While we're talking about this, hang on one second. Did you guys watch? I can't remember. Yeah, there was a podcast he was on, and I, for the life of me, can't remember. It was recent because they were talking about this match, and for everybody knows who Chamath is, right?
Yeah.
So he's talking about Chamath on this podcast, and I think I counted 3 or 4 times where he said that Chamath was his best friend. And it's just so random to say, this is Phil. I get it. He likes to talk, and he's name dropping, and he does it all the time, and that's his thing, and he gets a kick out of it. But do you really need to point out that somebody's your best friend 4 times? Like, it was just strange. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, if nobody knew who Chamath was, if he wasn't like super rich guy who was also like planning to run for governor of California, I think he gets name dropped 4 times. Like, you think he gets name dropped 4 times? But yeah, like people like that, like who I think like Phil probably occasionally gets away with charging the markup, and then you go out and you mentioned that you can get plus money on Phil. Imagine the parlay like of being Phil and managing to sell yourself at like say 80% of yourself at like 1.2 markup, and then also being able to like bet on yourself at plus money and just essentially like free roll the whole thing. Like this is why Phil does very well, and he's been a survivor in the poker industry for
Do you
so
think
long.
I don't really see Phil being cunning enough to do that type of thing.
Oh, I do. I
Really?
mean, I don't know that he would have bet on himself, really, but I mean, I would not be shocked if he managed to charge markup for this. Maybe not. Maybe because Daniel's also another big name and he's come off this well-publicized thing. But I bet you in like a lot of these big tournaments, he's been able to charge markup.
Oh yeah, no, I guarantee that. But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. And presumably Chamath and all the others are quite smart people. So
they also have money to burn for the most part, right? Like what the hell fuck is 50K to Chamath? Like,
Yeah, true.
All right. So we're gonna have Daniel on. Obviously, well, he's part of the. We're not gonna have him on. He's gonna be part of the podcast again when he is complete. We'll talk all about the match. We'll break it down. We'll see if Phil or Daniel is going to challenge to 100K. So if you lose the 50K, as a reminder, you can re-challenge the other guy for a 100K match, and if you lose that one, you can re-challenge for a 200K match. Which is what happened with Antonio and Phil. And
so, if you're a fan of this format and you want to see more matches, you're hoping for Phil to win, because I don't think Daniel ever quits.
No.
Like they'll just keep playing until like if Phil keeps winning, Daniel's just going to keep playing. It would just be like the inverse of Doug versus Daniel. Like if Daniel were ahead after the 12,500 matches, there's no way in hell like Doug would have quit.
You could have called it the inverse martingale heads-up duel, or something like that. Anyway, all right. Moving on. We're going to talk a little bit about the big story in poker in a sec, but just quickly, spring's always the best time for online tournaments, right? I mean, you've got all the different series across all the different platforms, and GG's come up with their version, and they've scheduled their version. The Spring Poker Festival, the Spring Festival, and it's 150 million in guarantees spread over 110 events. And it's similar to the way it's structured on other sites with they'll have an event and then have a high, medium, and low series. But this 150 million guarantees, that is the biggest tournament series online poker guarantee total of all time, which, it's interesting, right? GG's come a long way, and nobody had ever heard of them a couple of years ago, and now they're having 150 million guaranteed events, which is amazing. It runs from April 4th to 28th. 300 individual tournaments, obviously, with the 3 different versions of each tournament. 30 of them guarantee a prize pool of $1 million or more. So 30 of these tournaments are going to have $1 million or higher guarantee. And they are doing full festival style because Canadian DJ Deadmau5 is hosting a kickoff party on GG Poker TV. And then I think he's playing in a tournament as well on April 10th where he has a 10K bounty on his head, or his moose head, I guess, or mouse head. He's Canadian. It should be a moose head, but it's mouse head.
That's amazing. I mean, because it's just to stop you there, to put a 10K bounty on somebody who probably doesn't play poker in any meaningful way, I assume. Like,
right.
That's extraordinary value if you end up at his table. Can you just imagine like the freak out of hand history that it will get when he like is inevitably cut to like 1/3 of his stack and shoves?
Oh yeah, too good.
Or like just gets involved in a hand, because like sometimes these players like they don't even know they're supposed to shove when they're short stack, and so like you could just imagine when like he cold calls a raise, the kind of hysterics and fireworks that will happen behind that. I want the hand history of that whole table that he's busted at. I don't know how big the buy-in is for that tournament. I mean, I guess if it's like a 25K buy-in, they can't go too wild, but still. No,
it's a small one. I think it's one of those fan-friendly ones where people can jump in, and I'm sure it'll be a small buy-in.
Yeah, what do you think of this idea? A virtual party. I've never attended a virtual Zoom concert. The only Zoom calls I do are with you guys and with game night with people. But I know that these are things now, like they do concerts over Zooms and stuff like that. Have you guys are the concert going guys on this crew? Have you attended any during this pandemic?
No, the only thing I can think of is the rapper Travis Scott. During like the first lockdown, he did that big thing on Fortnite. He had like a concert on Fortnite where he was a giant and like walking through, and like a bunch of teenagers were there. And then like I heard talk of like they were gonna try and like when Joe Biden was running for president, they were considering like having giant Joe Biden walk through Fortnite. But I mean, it's a thing that's kind of a new concept that they're trying to work out, but it still seems fairly awkward. I'd rather watch like a recorded concert. Like there's lots of good concert footage where they have all the camera angles and stuff. There's no real point in watching it live.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess how interactive it gets. But getting back to it though, there's two tournaments that have a $10 million guarantee on it. One of them is the main event, High. It's a $1,500 buy-in. And then the High Roller Super Millions main event, a $10,300 buy-in, is $10 million guaranteed. And they also have a $400 buy-in with a $2.5 million guarantee on it. So pretty awesome. If you like to play online poker, GG right now with the Spring Festival is definitely a place you want to jump in and play some online poker tournaments. Also leaderboards too. They're giving away $1 million in leaderboards across all the different levels. So
is there a bonus code if you're a new player depositing on GG Poker and you haven't heard it before?
Do you not have a bonus code, do you? I think it's probably just head on over there, right? Let's go. All right, let's move on to the big story in poker in the last couple of weeks. We haven't done a show in a couple of weeks, but Vanessa Kade was certainly the talk of the poker community on a number of fronts, for sure. The big one we'll get to in a sec, the tournament when she took down the 15th anniversary Sunday Million. But before that, she was, we've talked about the fact that Dan Bilzerian was signed by GG Poker, and we had a discussion on this podcast about it and kind of said what we felt and et cetera, et cetera. And Vanessa has been quite outspoken about the fact that GG hired Dan, and Dan was not very nice to her and rude to her and on Twitter, and was kind of like, yeah, well, that's, you signed Dan as a ambassador or whatever you want to call him, then expect that to happen. And I'm sure the GG kind of probably thought that stuff like that might happen if they do sign Dan. Vanessa was outspoken against it on Twitter, indeed. But it turned out she was also an affiliate for GG. And for those that don't know what an affiliate is, you become a marketing partner for an online site. You get a code, as Terrence was just mentioning. If you have a code and people sign up because you drove them to that poker website, you're going to get a percentage of their revenue generated for some period of time. Sometimes it's for a little while. Sometimes it's for the life of the account. Sometimes it's an amount to sign up, and that's it. But she had an affiliate account with GG Poker that had been going, and they terminated her affiliate agreement given the fact that she was outspoken against GG quite often in social media. So, without having seen her specific contract, this is it's pretty standard in a lot of these contracts. Some of them will get canceled for things like not driving enough traffic. If you go months and months and months without driving traffic to a site, they can cancel your affiliate account because they want an ongoing campaign from you. Or if you speak negatively about a site or whatever, they have built-in reasons. You got to understand these affiliate contracts are written up by the sites. And it's sort of like employer contracts. When you go and you get a job and you sign a contract, well, the contract was written by the employer. So it's generally going to be, in their favor. It's written in their favor, right? So a lot of these are, I've, been in the affiliate industry. I can tell you that they're certainly slanted towards the people, but that's, people sign the contract, they sign the contract and they agree to it. That's on them, right? They read the contract presumably and agree to the terms. So GG decided to terminate the affiliate agreement with Vanessa. I think they, what happened was one of the affiliate people sent her some messages or some sort of communication about why, and she should, know that there's a bunch of women working at GG that are supported or feel supported, and which was sort of not even really the case, or not the case, not even really the point of what Vanessa was talking about, but whatever. I mean, the employees obviously going to be defensive about the company they work for, and they're quite happy in the environment. That was sort of the talk for a while. And then ACR jumped in, and ACR is an unregulated site that operates primarily in the USA. And they signed Vanessa as an ambassador to come over and represent the brand of ACR. And sort of take advantage of this, Vanessa being in the limelight, right? She had a lot of attention, and this seemed like a good time for ACR to jump in. Sorry, T, I'm just going to ramble here for a little bit to get all the info out, and then you can take over. But yeah, so they, perfect opportunity for ACR. This person is, quite presentable, and she's carries herself quite well, and she's going to represent the brand, and she's in the limelight at the moment. It seemed like a good hire for them. Well, then Vanessa goes out and jumps into the party, or the Poker Stars 15th anniversary Sunday Million, and beats out 70,000 players to win 1.5 million on her $215 buy-in. Is it still $215? I think it is probably still $215 to buy into the Sunday Million.
$215 with rebuys now. Yeah.
Yeah, with rebuys. So an amazing story, right? I mean, we get online poker or even live poker. We see, the same people who tend to win a lot of the times. Jason Kuhn wins $1 million on a live stream. Oh, okay. Well, throw it on the pile. There's another $1 million for Jay Kuhn. That's awesome. We're happy because he's a good guy and we want to see him win. But when somebody like Vanessa goes and binks $1.5 million, it's amazing to see somebody who's, probably admittedly a low stakes tournament grinder. Not low stakes, but she's certainly not playing in $10,000 buy-ins all the time. So for her to bink, and she didn't sell any of herself. She didn't make a deal at any point in the tournament. So she ends up winning the full 1.5 million, good Canadian girl that she is. And of course, story of the poker world and fantastic. I mean, I personally couldn't be happier for her. But a lot happened, right? So that was like a 2-week period. All this stuff went down, and it was Vanessa that everybody was talking about. T, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, crazy story for her. Like, just kind of imagine the emotions that she personally has gone through of these 2 weeks. I mean, there's obviously there's so much to unpack here, but the Sunday Million story, like, it was even in my local newspapers. Like, Vanessa is from the city that I live closest to. She's from Kelowna, British Columbia. Like, I saw her in like the geo-targeted newspaper ads that I get on my phone and stuff. So a big story, made bigger by all the Bilzerian stuff and the affiliate stuff. So I guess we should sort of go back and unpack all of this stuff. We talked about the initial Bilzerian signing, 6 shows ago or whatever it was back in December, I think it was. I mean, I think at the time that we discussed, we're not a big fan of it, but we understand why it's done. He's got this big following. I wonder how much mileage GG has gotten out of this now, because I don't seem to see a lot of promotion out of him. Obviously, he's capable. Like, he's got like, I don't know even how many million Instagram followers or whatever it is. He's capable of creating that reach and driving new traffic. I don't know that he has been doing that, but I mean, that's none of my business. That's GG's executive team to decide whether they think it's worth it for him. And then you've got the other side of it, which is the fact that a lot of female poker players and allies are very unhappy with GG because of this. And this goes into all this, you're a hoe and all the stuff that we talked about on the last show. The affiliate stuff, I mean, I lean on you a little bit for this because you have been an affiliate in online poker for as long as affiliates have existed. You'd mentioned that the contract language is always going to be favorable to the site, and that's understandable. And it also makes sense to say that you put in contract, well, if you talk badly about us, we're going to terminate your contract. That makes perfect sense. I mean, you're theoretically supposed to be an ambassador for the site. You're supposed to, they pay you so that to do advertising, whether this is organic advertising, whether this is, word of mouth, whether you have a blog or a stream or whatever it is that you put a GG Poker banner up on. You start talking shit about them, there's a good chance that this happens. What I put the question to you, Adam, is, I guess, and because, sorry, I started off asking you something, but I wanted to make clear, usually the model is so weird because, if you, Adam, you're the affiliate and I signed up under your name, your bonus code, your rakeback, whatever, you get a portion of all the rake that I generate essentially for life, which is weird in itself, right? Because like, sure, I clicked on adamspokerblog.com and I read your strategy article and I clicked your link or whatever it was, but you did that work once, and yet you're entitled to my revenue, a share of my revenue for forever. And it's weird because you don't have to continue to get me playing, but at the same time, like when a poker site pays an affiliate, they're kind of like playing the lotto, right? Like I could be the guy who shows up, deposits $50, never heard from again. I could be a guy who's the worst poker player of all time, but I'm just like a degenerate gambler and I'm super wealthy because I make widgets really well. And I, deposit $500,000 and I'm losing it all. And I make you very rich. Like this whole model is very weird because it's just predicated on like, who can you get to click on your link or use your code? But the question I wanted to ask you is like, how often does this actually happen? How often does somebody's account get terminated? I mean, I remember I was an affiliate for DraftKings when DFS first got started, and eventually I stopped driving traffic to them, and they just kind of said like, you don't get any anymore, which is like fine. Like I didn't expect anything anymore. I didn't put in any work, and that's something Vanessa also said. She's like, I stopped promoting them really. But how often does this in practice actually happen?
Well, as you point out, there's an imbalance after you bring a player to a site, right? Because as you said, the work is done once and then the revenues is generated forever. And as that happens over and over and over again, you become sort of a liability to the site. That player is a liability. So, businesses seeking to maximize their revenue are going to look at their contract and say, well, what's this affiliate doing currently to bring more players? Are they of value to us? Have they stopped promoting us? Oh, they've stopped promoting us and we don't see them anywhere in their websites or their television production or whatever they are. Yeah, I mean, why are we continuing to pay them? And it's built into the contracts that they have to continue doing it. So how often does it happen? Fairly often, and most of the time it's for the purpose that happened with you, for if you stop promoting them and no longer drive traffic to the site, then, and that also creates a situation where the affiliate wants to keep driving traffic to the site so they don't get their account shut down, right? So it's this thing that helps the site continue to motivate the affiliates to continue sending players. And does it happen a lot? I think it happens fairly often, yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, the other side of this is that if this model were so bad for poker sites, they wouldn't do it, right? So clearly they're getting something from it. So even though the fact that I can sign up on adamspokersite.com and potentially generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in rake, and they have to continue paying you for hundreds of thousands of dollars rake, they're still willing to take that chance that I was a guy who you couldn't get otherwise. And so the problem now is when you start kind of cutting off affiliate counts for whatever reason, is that I guess other affiliates don't trust that you'll keep them in good grades. Like what's basically stopping poker sites from doing what they did with Vanessa all the time, or just saying like, hey, whatever, you violated this, you stopped bringing us traffic, or you said something negative about us. Like, where's the incentive sort of the other way for poker sites?
So you're saying if they cut people off, then they won't get people to come and become affiliates?
Yeah, is that the idea? Because I mean, it feels like there's always going to be one affiliate just ready to replace the next one, right? Like if you shut your blog or your Twitch stream or whatever down, like Ross is right there and saying like, I'm setting up shop, right? Like you're kind of a commodity, right?
Yeah, and I think that's true. But as long as because affiliates talk, right? Especially the bigger ones. These are real businesses. This isn't me. Like when I first did it, it was me and a laptop and Bunner. We're like, okay, how can we'll throw an ad up in the old podcast and see if people want to rake back. I think we were one of the very first rake back websites or whatever. And we thought, we'll get some people some rake back and we'll, make a little money or whatever. So, but it quickly turned, because of the amount of money that was being made, it quickly turned into a large business. I mean, there's publicly traded companies now that do this kind of stuff. So they communicate and they understand affiliates, these big ones, they know that they need to abide by the terms of the contract. And a lot of the bigger ones will be able to dictate some of the terms of the contract to the sites that smaller ones can't, right? So they'll look at the contract and go, well, we're going to drive thousands of players to your site. Guess what? This is the contract. Do you want us to send them to you or the next site? So I don't think it would stop people or many people from doing business as long as it wasn't, nefarious. If you have a contract and it was terminated for cause, then I don't know why that anyone would be mad. But to go back to what you said about being a bad model, I completely agree. The model wasn't. It's weird, right? Because these sites all have these. And DraftKings is a perfect example. And FanDuel, they want to spend as much. They want to outspend the other in marketing, and just try and bury them. And it doesn't matter if we lose tens of millions of dollars. It's all about customer acquisition and burying the only other competitor. And we'll do whatever it costs, and we'll give bad deals to try and have all the affiliates that drive all the traffic, so we can bury that other guy and get the customer acquisition down, and then figure it out from there. But,
and then once we win, then we can figure out how to deal with this problem we've created.
Yeah, exactly. And will you be able to? I don't know. I guess not without canceling everybody's contract for cause. But I don't think Vanessa was really particularly upset about the fact that Gigi ended her contract, because she said, "Look, I've been outspoken against them, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't see her saying, 'Wow, I can't believe they canceled my contract,' or really anybody. I don't know that there's a." Vanessa chose to do what she did, and more power to her. That's the way she felt, and she knew it could cost her this revenue stream that she had. I think it was a couple thousand a month, which now is probably insignificant to her, but it probably wasn't at the time, right? That's I
don't know. I read it slightly differently. I did think that she was mad. She wrote the sort of thing like, how would you do this 4 days after International Women's Day, which sort of became a bit of a meme in the poker world. I think
I just want to quickly comment on that, because it's a good point that you raised. And she sent out a tweet, and it was basically calling them out for canceling it. And the most of the tweet, and I'm sure you probably agree with this, but most of the tweet was about the fact that it was about Bilzerian, right? And then she said that sort of offhanded comment, and people focused on this thing about, oh, she's complaining. She doesn't matter when. Who cares that it was Women's Day, and how can she? So then her whole point became invalid because she made this one little offhanded comment, and that got me.
And she started arguing that too, but it's such a red herring. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. Yeah. I'm sure if she could write it again, she would probably not write that, because it just detracts from the point entirely. But the larger overall point, is that I think she was upset. She was sort of relying on this passive income that she did honestly generate, but also on the other hand, you can say that she violated terms. That's why I wanted to ask you sort of like how often, like what sort of precedent exists for this kind of thing, like this termination of deal, and you've answered that. But I was sort of curious, because I was like, well, is this done in the affiliate world? It's not very. This is an unusual case, because you usually don't get somebody who was an affiliate coming out and saying like, I think these guys have done a terrible thing by hiring Dan Bilzerian. I think he's I think he's a bad model, and I think it shows that that the site is misogynistic, and they don't care about women and all this kind of stuff, which is clearly negative. I've never heard of somebody having their affiliate contract terminated for cause. I understand why it's done, but it's not like affiliate model. It's been around for so long that, but yet, like, it's very rare that any affiliate comes out and criticizes any site, right?
Yeah. I don't think you see it much at all.
It's sort of a unique case. But yeah, so going off of that to sort of be like, oh darn, like I'm not going to get these couple $1,000s a month anymore, and then just have 100% of yourself and bank the largest, like this gigantic, I don't know if it's the largest online, but like the largest online one this year, as far as I know, to date. And to bank 1.5 million, no deal, nothing. Like it's absolutely bananas. It's absolutely insane. Like it makes you think that we're living in a sim that like is just made up. Like it's just some guys just fucking with the settings and just for maximum.
Hey, so I want to ask you guys, Vanessa's win, 1.5 million, was the 6th biggest win in real dollars by a female in a poker tournament. Can you name any of the top 5 banks?
It was the 6th biggest win by a female in a poker tournament.
Roscoe, do you know any of the other? Do you know any of the top 5? or can you think of any of the top 5?
What's her name? The Russian girl. She won a big tournament.
What's her name?
Are you saying this? You're just like, this is a Russian girl. She won a tournament.
No, she was. I can't remember her name now. You're really putting me on the spot. But there was she was the top female player a few years ago.
Well, you've narrowed it down to nobody. I love it. Okay.
I've got I think 2.
Okay, go.
I think Annette Oberstad and WSOP Europe.
That's who I was thinking of.
He won.
Annette Oberstad, very Russian. Yeah, good call there. And then like Duke in the TOC won like $2 million, right?
Yeah, that's second. You got 1 and 2.
I'd be surprised if Kristen Bicknell isn't on this list somehow, right?
Kristen Bicknell is not one of the remaining 3.
Oh, okay. Vanessa Selbst.
Vanessa Selbst is the number 3rd.
I don't even know what it would be that she won. I don't track the stuff carefully enough, but
1.8 million at the Partouche Poker Tour, right? 3rd place.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. That's what I got. I got 2. That's pretty good, right?
I'm surprised you don't get one of them. The Iron Maiden of poker. Who's the Iron Maiden of poker?
I've never heard this term. Are you shitting me?
She's astrophysics.
Oh,
Liz. Liz. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. And then who else we got?
EPT San Remo for 1.7 milli. There you go. You got a couple of them, T. I'm impressed.
I feel like I did well. I mean, in this, only 26 days removed from International Women's Day, I was able to name 2 of the top 6, 3 of the top 6 tournament scores by women in poker.
I love it. All right, let's get on to a couple of tweets.
You're going surfing on the internet.
All right, I got both of them. One is low hanging fruit. Alex Weldon at Benefactum Games. Wonder what I have to do to get Dan Bilzerian to call me a hoe too.
Exactly.
Might not much.
This late entry, just before we get on air, I saw this one, but Scott Seaver quoting a Pocket Fives, the venerable poker site. Pocket Fives, who loves, of course, all things online poker, asks who's the number 1 ranked online poker player of all time. We're about to find out. They link to a poll, like a sort of March Madness style bracket, where you vote who all these heads up things about who you think is the best online poker player of all time. Scott Seavers fired some shots, quoted the tweet and says, "This is the first time lots of these people only had 1 name in a 64-person tournament."
Oh, see what he did there.
Yeah,
I got it.
What he did.
I get it. All right, quick shout out. Fake Allan Boston said the DAT Poker podcast is his favorite. What did I say? I said
the DAT Poker Pressed.
Yeah, it's no longer his favorite podcast.
This show is just not going in the highlight reel.
No, this is the nut low one.
That's fucking exciting.
Fucking Daniel's gonna hopefully this never just crosses Daniel's path. He's gonna be so mad.
I'm gonna listen. What are you talking about? He's had too much time, too many things. Fuck, I can't even talk. Too many things to do to listen to this thing. All right, we've got some voicemails, Roscoe. Let's go.
What in the world is going on?
Email number 1.
All right, we got another mystery to solve. Not a mystery, but
is there a dead body in the Hudson River? That's usually what it is. We got a 26-year-old rape victim who's had her fingers cut off or something like that.
And Ice-T is standing at Shoreline trying to figure out what's going on.
Here we go.
Hey guys, love the show. This is Jeff in Chicago. I have a ruling that needs to be made. This happened a couple of years ago in a club-run cash game. I believe it was Omaha, may have been high-low, but it doesn't matter for the purpose of this decision. So basically there were 2 players in the hand, and with as the case with Omaha, one guy's on a big draw. They got it all in before the river, and again, you don't have to show your cards in the cash game. One person, the one person who shoved, turns over his cards. He just shows a pair of kings. That's all he has after the river runs out. The other gentleman stands up. He's holding his cards like in front of his face. He's looking at the board. He's looking at his cards, and you can see he's just disgusted. And he whips the cards at the table. Now they don't hit the muck, but the cards are flying in different directions. I think 2 cards are face up, 2 cards are face down. A couple of at least one, if not both of the face down cards landed in front of another player who picked them up and turned them face up. The dealer looks at all 4 cards that are scattered about and says he's got 2 pair. They call over the tournament director and they award the hand to the guy who threw his cards with the 2 pair. I don't know what the ruling should have been on that. I felt sick for the other guy because it seemed like when he threw his cards in, then that was it. But what is the ruling on that? Maybe it's specific to each club, but I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that before. Thanks. Looking forward to listening. Take care.
Oh, I've seen lots of things like that before. I'm sure we all have.
Usually it's the guy who whips his cards face down, then like the cards flip over. This one's interesting because somebody else flipped his cards over. I mean, I think the rule is cards speak, right? Like I think that's the ruling in this case, but like it sucks because he wasn't the ones who turned his cards up. Like if he flings them, they hit like a random stack of chips and they all turn over all 4. And in fact, if not all 4 cards had been turned over, like the dealer could just muck the hand and throw them into the muck because it's Omaha, like a 3 cards face up and 1 card down is not a valid hand. Mm-hmm. Because of the way it went down, it does feel gross to award the pot to the 2 pair guy, but I think that's what I would have rolled to. Adam, what do you think?
So to your point, and I think he even said it, there's so much of these are local rules to card rooms. They talk about, does the hand hit the muck? Is it turned down on the mall? Can you 100% distinguish the hand and you're 100% sure that's his hand? So if you're 100% sure it's his hand and the person turned over, even though it was another player turned, first of all, the person who turned the cards over should not be doing that, but he did. The cards were turned over, he or she did. And you're sure that those are his 4 cards, I think then you have to award the pot to the player who threw his cards. Yeah. Especially in tournaments, I think you want to be as true to the actual hand as possible because you're protecting the rest of the field or whatever, right? So I think if you're sure that those are the 4 cards that belong to that player, then the right decision was made.
Yeah. I agree, and I think you bring a good point with respect to the player who turned up the cards. I mean, I think that guy, if not deserving of a penalty, deserves at least a very stern talking to. You don't handle other people's cards. Bottom line, like as long before the pot's been pushed, like these are not your cards. Like the hand is still live. Don't touch anybody else's cards. Like that's just a rule. Like it feels like the natural thing to do. Like a bunch of cards fly towards you and you just kind of turn them up. Like so, I probably wouldn't really give the guy a penalty unless it's like, I don't think I would give him a penalty, but you have to explain why that's wrong. And this is because of that specific incident, because you've now affected a game. Like you've now turned over a winning hand that somebody else was going to muck. You've really affected the game. So yeah, I think right ruling was made. Definitely warn or punish the other dude who turned up the cards.
Roscoe, are we unanimous or do you feel it's a dead hand?
I mean, I'm trying to think of in my experience. I've definitely, mucked the winning hand in like an ace high, scenario where I mucked like a small pair when it really seemed like I would have lost the pot. But I feel like if you throw your cards into the muck, then you should probably you folded basically. Isn't there some sort of
I think the thing
rule towards folding? Like if you make an action, like if you make a forward action with your chips. You make a forward action with your cards.
Well, I think the thing is that he didn't throw the cards into the muck, and the way, like that's the thing. If those 2 cards landed at the dealer, a good dealer who's doing his job is going to flip those cards into the muck and then turn the other one's cards into the muck, push the pot to the guy with the live hand. But because they happen to land like all the way across the table at whatever seat that guy got them, and because that guy flipped them over, like it's not really like the guy didn't really muck his hand. In a real sense, he chucked it to a room. If he does throw 4 cards forward towards the dealer in a way where the dealer can access them and the dealer just does their job and scoops them into the muck, then yeah, that's a dead hand.
Fair enough.
Email number 2.
Hello, gentlemen. I wanted to thank everybody for their great work throughout the years for supporting all the work you do for the poker community. I had two quick questions for you guys. One is for Daniel. I wanted to ask him how different his training would be if he was to play, let's say, the equivalent amount of hours heads up in person as opposed to online. So how different would that training be? And the second question, I guess, for anybody else in the room, what are the more common side hustles for the professional poker players? Thanks. Keep up the good work. Bye.
It looks like a common side hustle is folding dishcloths.
By the way, I think we should. We don't have Daniel, but we should make a mental note to ask him that. Because I think it's a good question. If he were preparing live, would he study film on somebody? I mean, I remember, obviously he was hoping the Doug Polk match could have been done live. I mean, I think if it was in a different year, maybe it would have happened live. But that is an interesting question. Side hustles. I mean, we just talked about one. Affiliates. Adam. Like you throughout the 2000s made a bunch of money doing this affiliate stuff. Now, content generation in general is a valuable one because it can lead you to things like affiliate deals. But also now these days, of course, you've got Twitch. That's a way you can monetize your work. You can stream poker on Twitch. Poker lessons, I think, has really gone up in popularity probably in the last 5 years. There are so many more poker coaches now than there used to be. What other side hustles are there? I mean, these are obviously like for people who are kind of maybe well respected in the community, but maybe not, because you could start a Twitch stream tomorrow. You might not get to the point, but you remember Jason Somerville used to just be like a guy with like 5 followers that nobody had ever heard of, and now he's Jason Somerville and he runs popular thing. Lex Veldhouse was always a well-known guy, but I mean, everybody started their stream somewhere. Vanessa Kade was also completely not well-known, but now she is. So everybody starts somewhere. So I don't know if you have further.
I think the biggest one is driving Joey Kanish's truck. It's probably the biggest side hustle.
Yeah, drive it. Yeah, day job.
And then, staking. Certainly, your staking, being part of a staking group or running a staking group is kind of a side hustle because a lot of those guys do play and stake others. But you mentioned most of them. I think affiliates, lessons, streaming. And even working for sites, right, Terrence? I think you can be. That wasn't really a side hustle. That was your main hustle.
I mean, that's kind of a full-time job, but it's true. I mean, all the people, not all the people, but most of the people that I hired to work poker customer service had been poker players, and I think that's a really valuable background. I mean, the online poker industry is always looking for good people to work. So, I mean, that's not a side hustle; that's a full-time job. But,
I saw a funny tweet that I can't remember. I think his name's Blockhead or something. He's funny on Twitter.
Blockhead is great.
Yeah, but the tweet was, when Bitcoin's up, you're a crypto investor. When Bitcoin's down, you're a poker player.
Yeah, I mean, doing shitty poker podcasts is a good side hustle.
That's true, yeah.
Pays well. So what about NFTs? NFTs seem to be all the rage. T, you got any NFTs?
No, I do not have any NFTs.
Awesome.
I mean, they're not like the worst. I'm hesitant to make fun of NFTs in any real way because I mean I do think they provide some value. But the current NFT mania is participating in. Maybe I'll feel silly, but I'll be fine.
No, I'll probably be as late on NFTs as I was on Bitcoin.
Did you guys see the NFT, the digital short on SNL?
That was great. I like that. Yeah, the fake M&M. That was good stuff.
Yeah, good. All right. Do we have any more voicemails, or is that going to wrap it up?
No, we got a couple more.
Let's roll.
Let's go.
Email number 3.
How's it going to my favorite podcast? This is James calling you from quarantine. I had a question. I was watching one of Daniel's old live streams, and he mentioned that he thinks he would do really well at Survivor. And it got me thinking, because you would expect a pro poker player to do well at Survivor, but for some reason they've done really bad. Like JRB, I think, did the best, and he did terrible. I was wondering, why do you guys think that poker players have done so bad on Survivor, and what odds would you give yourself on winning? Because you would assume that you have an edge due to the strategic nature of it. So what odds would you give yourself, and how much willing to pay that you would win it, keeping in mind that you win $1 million if you win? So, yeah, thanks.
That's an awesome question. So here's my theory on poker players on Survivor. And I think it's once the rest of the group finds out you're a poker player, you're in trouble because they just automatically hate you because they think you're some game theory expert and you're going to manipulate everybody and because you do it at the poker table and et cetera, right? So you become a target. The people who do really well on Survivor are the people who are under the radar, who fly under the radar most of the time and people underestimate and stuff. But if you come in as I'm a big poker player and they tell, you know, if you can't hide the fact that you're a professional poker player or whatever, then I think you're in trouble. What odds would I give myself? I don't know how well I would do. First off, I mean, I could do the no food and that kind of stuff because I've now gone through that enough to know that I'm okay with that. But as far as living in sort of miserable conditions, I don't think I do really well with that. Not that I'd be a whiner or a bitch, but I just like, fuck, can I go home now? Like, I don't know that how long I'd be able to stick it out. So if I was 100% committed and it was fun, I mean, I'd say I'd have at least as good a chance as anybody else. So if there was 16 people, call it 13, 14 to 1, I'd give myself.
If there's 16 people, I think I'm about 50 to 1. Because I'm not very good at making. I don't know anything about Survivor. This is a Daniel question too because I know he loves the show.
So you get the physical part down perfect. Like that part would be great for you because you're a strong human. You're in shape. You're built. So your endurance is going to be really good. You're good for challenges because each show, and I know you probably don't know this, but they have challenges. So you become valuable to a tribe. They have a couple of tribes usually. If you're good at the challenges because you win immunity, your tribe wins immunity, and because you can run the fastest or swim the hardest or catch them, whatever you're doing. So
well, I got that going for me that I'm like pound for pound more in shape than the typical person. Although I imagine the people who try out for those shows are pretty in shape too.
No, they're not. Don't assume that.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I can't. This whole. All I know about Survivor is that you make alliances, and I've just been terrible at that through my life. Just connive. It's funny that you mentioned the poker player thing because it's like, oh yeah, like you'll understand all this stuff and you'll manipulate. I can't manipulate anybody. I can't get like my cats to get off the counter. Like I'm not good at this stuff. Like I'm not.
Yeah,
I would be interested in. It is a Daniel question too. We should replay these for him.
It's definitely a big time Daniel.
Do you like the chances?
I'm like Terrence. I really don't understand that much. I think I'm friendly enough to like survive for a while. I would get along with people, but I don't really understand what it takes to win, to be honest. So I would say I have the same odds as anybody. I'd have to do some research. I don't know how to build a
raft either. It seems like it's important. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably live outside. I'm fairly outdoorsy. At least I grew up, being outdoors a lot. So I don't know.
See, I'm in a weight loss bet currently. I think I probably mentioned this on the show, but there's about 30 of us in the poker community, something like that are. We started a weight loss bet, 5.5 months ago. And by April 15th, we all had to lose 10% of our body weight. So when we started it, Remco's organizing it. And when we started it, I was 200. So I got to get to 180. And and you had to weigh in each month for 6 months and lose whatever, 3% of your, or some small, no, whatever it is. You had to hit your benchmark each month for 6 months. I made it all the way through to the 5th month and I screwed up. So I have to get to 180.9 or something on April 15th. And I am currently 187. So I've got like 6 pounds to go.
But is weight cutting allowed? I mean, you could cut that tomorrow. You could cut 7 pounds tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, I don't want to go through that again. So, I'm gonna fast and get myself down. But it's been fun. It's been interesting.
I feel like you're just a professional weight loss. We should include this in the list of side hustles. You're just like a professional weight
loss bets. Yeah,
you're up more on weight loss bets than anybody I personally know.
This is my third one. All right. Or is that any more voicemails, Roscoe? We
I mean, yeah. If you want, I can dig one out here.
Why not? Get them out of the way.
Sure. Okay. So where are we at now? Maybe one that's not so Daniel centric. I don't. Maybe I assume Terrence probably has some answers for this one, so we'll find out.
All right, I'll do my best.
Was this number 3? Yeah, I think we're number 4.
Email number
004. Hit my Jones up on the low.
Hey fellas, it's Tuna from Chicago. I'm playing in a 5-card draw tournament online, and I've only played Play Money, and I realize I have no clue what I'm doing. Can you give maybe a minute tutorial, just fundamentals, what to play, what not to play, 5-card draw, no limit. It must be going pretty bad over at Orange County Choppers if Paul Tuttle Jr. has to be your producer. Anyways, have a great day. Take care.
A couple of things. First, Ross, can you make me a chopper?
Yeah, I can make you a chopper.
Good.
I really let's share my screen here. It's quite an astounding comparison. Is this?
Why is Hulk Hogan on this show?
That's you.
Yeah. I mean, I've got more tattoos these days, but that's about it. I don't have a mustache.
New tats. Second off, Tuna from Chicago is about as good as a name drop as you got.
That's a poker name.
That's great, and that made me think of Hans Tuna Lund. I love Tuna; he was the best. I don't know. Do you remember Tuna Lund? T? Were you around?
I mean, never met him. I think a little before my time, but yeah.
All right. R.I.P. Mr. Tuna Lund.
Do you have how much 5-card draw have you played in your life?
A fair amount, actually, more than probably average poker player.
Yeah.
Because
I just know you don't draw a trip. You don't draw 2 to trips. That's about all I know.
Well, it depends, but most of the time I agree. Yeah, depends if you're trying to what you're trying to represent, etc. But yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a game where he said no limit, right? So you got to.
So what are you opening with 6-handed under the gun in draw high? I don't have any idea.
Wow. I guess it depends on stack depth. It depends on the players you're playing with. It depends on a whole bunch of stuff, right? I mean,
100 BB deep, and you're playing whatever $1, $2 on the internet.
I think I'm probably opening queens, kings, or better, something like that.
Okay.
And then reevaluating depending on how many people call, etc. I could muck them too, depending on the game. You could just open muck, or you could just straight muck the queen.
Do you open end like 4 to a Broadway straight draw, like open ender, like?
No, I think I'm probably mucking that.
So you're mucking the 10 Jack Queen King.
It's so hard, right?
I don't know.
Again,
I assume I assume you'd open like a 4-card flush draw with an ace because you can just make like aces or make a flush, but I don't.
Yeah,
know.
You're opening 4-card flushes. You're opening 2 pairs. So if you're trying to find the margin of where you're folding and where you're folding or raising under the gun, it's pretty wide, I think, depending on all the different things that we mentioned.
Okay.
So you don't know either.
No. We need Daniel back so bad.
Well, I mean,
he would have an answer.
I gave you an answer, a very precise range, a very small range. It'd just be wrong because there's a wide range of hands to open.
Right. Okay.
Do we want to hit an actual email? We haven't done this for a long time.
I do have an email that we can read. We have another poker beef. Did you not catch we had another poker beef? You called out for poker beefs.
I did.
And we have a poker beef. Do you want me to read the poker beef?
Yes.
All right. Do we play number 6 drop, or is it still number 5?
No, it's another one. We got to get deep into the drops.
All right. Play number 6 drop.
Email number
6.
I saw this one. I thought this was interesting. Josephina has a poker beef. I'm just here for the Agent Benson. So Josephina writes, "Hey guys, love the show. Thanks for doing it. I have a poker beef from before the pandemic. Couldn't fit it in 90 seconds, so decided to write an email. A friend and I used to go to our local casino once every 2 weeks to play daily tournaments. One week, the casino had a series on and put on a bunch of satellites into the bigger events. I wanted to win a seat to play something out of my bankroll, and my friend seemed keen as well. We go to the casino for the satellite, and as we're lining up, my friend asks at registration when the actual event that we're satelliting to is. I say next weekend, and she says there's no way she'll be able to make it. I tell her registering for the satellite is a waste of time and money. She says that this is her one night out and really wants to play poker, and she doesn't care. She says if she wins a seat, she'll give me a ticket, and if I cash the event, we'll split the proceeds 50-50. I say she's crazy to play, but she says she doesn't care. The buy-in to the satellite is $80 for an $800 entry fee event. After registration closes, there are 4 tickets, and fifth gets $560 of cash. I busted at the midway point, and as I get up, I'm looking at my friend's stack, and she's doing very well. I go to the bar and grab a drink, and I'm texting with my friend, who's continuing to do well. And the final table starts, I go to watch, and from the stack sizes, it is clear that my friend should win a ticket, and I'm happy about this because I really wanted to play the event. A couple of short stacks bust right away, and then it's 5-handed, and my friend is second in chips and 1 very short stack left. At this point, my friend stands up and declares that she wants 5th place as she cannot make the main event. The rest of the players agree to the deal, of course, and she walks with the cash and no ticket. I was livid at missing out on being able to play the event, but kept quiet about it. I'm wondering what you guys think and whether I was overreacting or whether I'm right to feel pissed off. Thanks for the pod. Best regards, Joe's. Adam, the case of the friend the reluctant satellite winner.
Okay, did I miss it, or did the friend who wasn't playing participate in funding this tournament?
No. I think I think she just played by herself.
So the person who took the money put up all the money for the tournament.
Yeah.
I think we have our answer. That person gets to keep all of the money.
I think that's right. I understand where you're coming from, Josephina. Like, you can get excited to play a tournament, but she put up her money. Yeah, I mean, if they've done a thing where Josephina was putting up half her buy-in or something like that, then it's like, yeah, you probably should be pissed. But if your friend put up all the money, then you don't. I'm sorry, you don't have a poker beef. Do we have a drop for like beef denied, or like the court has made a ruling, or like
where's the beef?
Can we get a gavel?
Where's the beef?
I don't have one. Let's see here.
Am I the only one old enough to remember where's the beef?
Got him!
I know where's the beef.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our podcast this week. Yes, the American
Thank
Poker,
God.
when they do like the best submission for writing for poker websites, there should be a worst poker podcast episode of the year. That should be one of the awards given out.
We could call it the Not Low. We could nominate various episodes of this one, and we would kindly like to submit that Poker Pod episode 97.
This would be
It's been a heavy testicle this week.
Yeah, we have probably more poop references than testicle references on the show.
We apologize for everybody out there for fumbling over our words and generally goofing.
I thought my lighting was going to be the worst part of the show. You guys had me convinced that my lighting was going to be the worst part of the show, which is pretty bad, but it doesn't even barely make the top 10.
I mean, you look like you're at a campfire. You going to make a score? Or
yeah. I'm camping. Leave me alone.
All right. It's going to wrap it up for the podcast this week. Sorry out there to anybody who made it to this point. We'll try and do better next podcast. Hopefully we've built up enough of a buffer of goodwill with y'all that we can get away with screwing one of these up once in a while. But we had fun.
It was a good time. I think there was some good information in there that you can take away from this.
There was a nugget or two.
Yeah. Call in with some new mysteries and what your favorite moment of this show was.
So to be clear, we want audio, we want phone calls to what your favorite moment of this podcast is, so we can play it next week on the podcast.
Yeah, just because Daniel's not going to listen, and we can make it sound like it was the best show ever.
Oh yeah, that's what we should do. Hey, this was the best show ever, Daniel. You missed out. Be great. All right, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you very shortly. Have a good week.
Bye.